भी है. Okay जी. So these are all the objective we will meet in this chapter, and we will try to meet all of them. तो जितना हो सकेगा हम कर लेंगे. बाकी जो रह जाएगा कुछ अगले हफ्ते कर लेंगे. So long term objective can be quantitative, can be measurable, challenging, hierarchical, realistic, obtainable, understandable, and congruent. Now you have to understand about all these, how long term objectives are in consideration, in serious consideration of the organization. But objectives are meaningful when when the objectives are quantitative, measurable. The two things are very much important. The objective is, why they are quantitative, because when we are looking up to something to achieve, so until unless we have the quantitative analysis of that objectives, we cannot figure out that either we have achieved or not. uh, Whether we are hoping for having larger amount of profit, or market share, and extreme quantity and market extent, and we want to expand ourselves into international markets. So all of these kind of objectives must be quantitative, so it can be measurable, because measurement जो है is actually the main idea which shows you that whether you are up to the mark, or you are behind it, or you have surpassed it. So that's why it must it also be realistic as well, understandable, because most of the things are very vague and very ununderstandable for the employees and for the managers. If the objectives are not understandable, if the objectives are having some kind of a confusing words, confusing statements, and confusing kind of a explanation, so a manager would not be getting easy for coping up with the situation. Challenges, challenging, obviously objectives are always challenging. They are not easy. uh, and hierarchical means that every sort of employee, from the head of the department, from the president of the department, from the CEO of the department to the last front man, line manager, every person should have an objective of its own, of its hierarchical level. And obtainable, definitely objective must be obtainable, because as I said that if the objectives are ununderstandable, confusing, not numerical, not quantitative, so the sense of achievement cannot be figured out. And congruent, obviously we have to focus deeply on our activities, where the objectives are uh, uh, supposed to achieve in time, supposed to achieve in a better manner. The benefit of having clear objectives. So now, as we have discussed that what are the benefit, the objectives should be clear and in understandable statement. So, what are the uh, benefits? Just 1 minute. Of having these objectives. They provide direction by revealing expectations, obviously. They provide direction. If every manager, every employee is very clearly stated and clearly directed towards the objectives, so he knows about all the activities, he knows about the all actions that has to be taken for the achievement of any objective. And allow synergy, it means that if all the employees, all the managers are being directed to their clear objectives, so they know how to do the teamwork and how to cope with each other, and how the things are being adjusted into one system. Because obviously in a larger organization, every sort of manager at any hierarchy having a different kind of activities, different kind of job descriptions. But all employees are working for the single same one organizations. So all the activities, all the actions, all the policies, they must be obviously centralized or concentrated towards organizational objectives. So this is called a synergy. So that's why if objectives are clear, so that allows synergy. It means that all the employees are working at their own in different regions, in different offices. They are all up to having one single objective of organization. And clear objectives aid in evaluation by serving as a standard. Definitely, obviously, when you want to evaluate, when you want to evaluate yourself, that how much you have achieved so far. So these quantification and these clear objectives are very much important as a standard. I don't know that might be you have gone through some earned value analysis you will study in the cost management chapter. So this earned value analysis is obviously shows you how much the work has been done so far and how much is left. That can be calculated in percentage. So if somebody says that I am 50% done and 50% left, it means that he is very well aware of its clear objectives. Then establishing priorities, obviously, in organization, all the managers are set, are अच्छा एक मैसेज आप लोगों की तरफ से कोई आया है कि मुझे भी अलाउ करें क्लास में. आई थिंक आई हैव अलाउड ऑल ऑफ हिम. लेट्स सी, देख लेते हैं, बार कोई रह गया है तो हम उसको अलाउ कर लेते हैं. एडमिट ऑल, एडमिट ऑल, एडमिट ऑल. जहूर शाह साहब आए हैं और आई थिंक ठीक है जी. ओके, establishing priorities, all the managers are definitely having different kind of work packages and tasks. So you need to create priorities over there, because you want to achieve the utmost and near target first, and longer objectives are taken aside for the later time. So that's why and that can only be happen that the manager is obviously making a list of achieving closer objectives and achieving mid-term objective and meeting the long-term objectives, if he is very well aware about the objective in clear term. So you can also make some priorities among your objectives. Then reduce uncertainty. Definitely, the uncertainty is being reduced, because if you are given clear tasks, if you are given clear objectives to increase profit, to increase revenues, to increase production, to have market access, to have good contracts, to have good stakeholder analysis. So if you are given clear objectives, so that's why obviously uncertainty reduces and everybody is known about his job, what he's employed for. Then minimizing conflicts. Obviously, most of in recent time, the conflicts and what we say and the jhagda and the lie happens here, because one manager is obviously putting fingers into the other's job and either other task. So that is not good, because these kind of activities, these kind of things making conflict. But if every manager, every employee is given proper job description, so conflict shouldn't be there. So these clear objectives also minimize the conflicts, because on the other, on one side, finance managers obviously is demanding to save money and the lot of funds, but on the other side, the marketing manager is requiring a lot of money for the publicity and advertisement. So this can create some kind of a conflict between the marketing manager and finance manager, because marketing manager needs money for the publicity and advertisement, where the finance managers wants to save money. So that's why, because they would be in conflict. But if the both managers are not being given their proper clear term objectives, and as well as the job description. If my finance manager and marketing managers both are given their job description appropriately, clearly. They are given their targets, and they are given their objectives clearly. So obviously they cannot conflict, because finance manager must be know that the marketing manager needing money for the set purpose, or marketing manager obviously is also having some kind of a sense to save money, so they can do good effectively as a teamwork. Similarly, simulate exertion. Exertion means that putting your energy into unnecessary job, unnecessary activities, because in the office, in the organization, in the field, all the employees are given tasks. So if you are doing something, uh, something that is not your job, or something that is not your task part, so obviously the energies are being wasted. So if every employee is being given clear target and objective, so their exertions, their wasteful energy, they can be simulate, and even they can go for better uh, mm, results uh, after having this clear meanings. Then the aid in allocation of resources. I have already told you about the allocation of resources when I was giving example of the marketing manager and finance manager. So obviously, finance manager is having some kind of a problem with the allocation of the resources if he's not given the proper information about what is happening in the marketing, what is happening in the production side, what is happening in the other areas. So if the objectives are very well clear and communicated to the managers, so these resources can be allocated in better way. Then it aid in the design of the jobs. Obviously, all of the employees, all of the workers, they must be having some kind of a design, how to do work, and what kind of a posture they the sir, kindly allow the student classes. Yes, I'm allowing them. Some students are waiting, please could you allow them? Yes, I have allowed them. Okay. Aid in the design of the job designing. Obviously, this is very much important area of the operation management. In job designing mean that how any kind of employee and how any kind of worker would do his job, and what kind of resources he would be given, and what kind of area of work, or what kind of place, even office of the work should be given to him. So these all things are included in the job design. So if every employee is very well aware about and very well informed about his job and task, so and all the resources, so it is very much easy to designing jobs for all these employees. Then they provide basis for the consistent decision making. Obviously, if all things are taken into stream seriously, so decision making become little bit easy, because if you find confusions in your organizations, if you find conflicts in your organization, if you find something missing or misfit in your organization, you cannot make decisions wisely. But if all the matters and all activities and all the things are very well clearly communicated, very well aware, very well fixed into organization, then the decision making becomes very scientific in nature. Then financial versus strategic objectives. So here the objectives are being classified into two major parts. One is financial objectives and one is strategic objectives, and obviously these both are very much important. Financial objectives very much clear. Every organization wants to earn profit, wants to earn revenue, wants to increase its assets, wants to increase its funds, resources. So financial objectives definitely are very much important. Financial objectives are growth in revenues, growth in earning, higher dividends, larger profit margins, greater ROI. If you remember that ROI I have explained in the last class. Then higher earning per share. Every firm wants to rising stock prices and improve cash flow. So these are called are called financial objectives. Then the balance scorecard. What is this? It is the idea given by the Robert Kaplan and David Norton. It means that strategy, evaluation, and control technique is simply balance financial measures with the non-financial measures. Because if you see that here we have explained some financial objectives: growth in revenue, growth in earning, higher dividends, larger profit margins, greater ROI, higher earning per share, rising stock prices, improved cash flow. All these are related to finances. But sometimes it happens that the activities that are being taken into practice in organization, they are sorry mhm. They don't mismatch. They don't match. They mismatch with these objectives. On the one side, you want to grow your revenues, but on the other side, that the current operations are not allowing you to increase your revenues, because obviously current operations and current activities are obviously on the field, and in field activities are not necessary to be according to your plan. Because in the plan you may be having these financial objectives. They can be planned. They can be planned what kind of revenue you want to earn. They can be planned what kind of earning you want to get, what kind of higher dividends should be paid to the stakeholders. So all these financial objectives may have planned, but running activities, it is not necessary that go undergo according to your plan. Sometimes field activities are running in such a way that these financial objectives cannot be met, that these financial cannot be met. So keeping balance in between that the financial objectives, what you have in your mind, and the current activities and techniques you are practicing, they must be aligned with each other. So for that organization, for that manager should be very wise. Manager should be very sharp and witty, that he should figure out that what kind of technique, what kind of methodology, what kind of activities they are threatening to these kind of financial objectives. So if he finds that some activities, some techniques, some measures, some issues, or some kind of any kind of activity, if it is coming across with the financial objectives, so he tries to balance it out. So this is called balanced scorecard technique. Balanced financial measures with the non-financial measures. Obviously financial measures are also always in strictly in money form or in term of, but non-financial measures obviously are all those activities. Sometime the employee's behavior, it does not allow you to get higher earning or higher profit margin, because employee is not willing to do his job happily and enthusiastically. So it means that the behavior is a very simple thing, that the behavior of an employee, it can also be threatening toward the financial objectives. Obviously if an organization wants to earn the revenues, higher revenues, all the managers, all the employees must be working with enthusiasm. But manager finds that the enthusiasm or motivation is lacking, so that motivation, that lack of motivation, can be threatening to the greater revenue. So he needs to design some kind of a technique where these motivation can be adjusted or can be rationalized with the needed one. So balanced shareholders objectives with customers and operational objectives as well. It is also another area that the balance is shareholders objectives. So obviously firms is having its own objectives, and shareholder who is investing the money into organization, they may have some kind of different objective. So it means that if you want to plan to distribute your profit, higher dividends. But if you are distributing profits in very least percentage, so the investor obviously would be discouraged for investing more in your object in your firm. So you need to design such a kind of a dividend policy that sufficient amount of funds should be distributed over to the shareholders, so they find their objective are met, or their objectives are achieved. So in that way, obviously, then the more money and the more investment you can attract from the shareholders. So keeping your non-measures activities aligned with the financial objectives, it means that is called balanced scorecard technique. And that was idea was given by the Robert Kaplan and the David Norton. Now, if you have remember that in the start, I have told you about the hierarchical, the objectives are hierarchical. So this is kind of hierarchy of large company you may see in any organization. This is a hierarchy of the large company, and this is hierarchy of the small company. In large company, obviously, one additional layer is there. Four levels you can see. The top level is corporate level, chief executive officer, the owner of the firm. Or the owners of the firms are lying here, and they are having their own objective, long-term objectives, holistic objectives. They see the market into the bigger picture. But when the things comes to the division level, where the finance division, marketing division, or production division, engineering department, so then the president or executives and the vice presidents, you know that the vice president can be so many dealing with different divisions. So the divisions cannot be can be functional division as well. The division they can be geographical divisions as well. So you may heard of the term about the country manager. So what is the country manager is? The country manager is divisional head. So these kind of division head, they have their own objectives according to their area, according to their geographic location. And then when we come to the more smaller side or more smaller level, that is functional level, the finance, marketing, R&D head, manufacturing head, information system, and the human resource manager. So these are the functional managers. So they have their own objectives. And the frontline force in the last, you may see that the operational level, plant managers, sales managers, production and department managers. So you may find these four level of hierarchy in the large company in common. Every hierarchical level has its own objective setup. But the objectives of this lower level, operational level objectives, these objectives obviously are following the functional level objectives, and these functional level objectives are following the divisional level of objectives, and divisional level of objectives are being designed under the corporate level of objectives. So ultimately the who is okay ultimately the organization should have taken all the advantages of all activities, but these objectives of each level should be aligned and should be well fixed with each other. But in the small company, you may not see some bigger hierarchy. You may be having company level owner or president. At the second tier, you are having functional level finance, marketing, R&D, manufacturing, information system, and human resources. And the last and lower level, you may have operational level. And again, my point is that the objective of each hierarchical level objectives, they must be aligned sufficiently and effectively. Because if objectives are not aligned, if objectives are not fitted to the level wise objectives, so then the organizational objectives are being compromised. Then it should not be like that. What is sirs, are some classmates still waiting where the PM is placed? PM, Prime Minister. Look, we are studying about the organization. We are not discussing the country level system or political that public administration. So public administration is having something different kind of uh, system. Uh, this is not public administration level of hierarchy. These are purely business level of or private hierarchical levels. So Prime Minister obviously is the head and chief executive of the public administration hierarchy. And then these are those 16 strategies was what we were discussing earlier, that we must see some kind of classification of strategies. So these kind of strategies are there. So these are the bigger classification, obviously. These are not all these strategies, but they can be classified into these four groups. Vertical integration strategies are there, intensive strategies are there, diversification strategies are there, and intensive strategies are there. So all these strategies are being taken into consideration for having a different kind of approach and having different kind of need behind. Vertical integration strategy is further divided into forward integration, backward integration, and horizontal integration. Where intensive strategies they are being further divided into market penetration, market development, and product development. Diversification strategies are further divided into related diversification and unrelated diversification. And the last, intensive strategies are divided into retrenchment, divestiture, and liquidation. So what these policies are, and when they are played, and when they are needed. So in simpler form, it is being written over there in front of this. Forward integration, the meaning of this forward integration is written in this column. You can see that. Just give me 1 minute. बेटा खामोशी खामोशी, मुझे पानी पिला दे जरा. Okay, children were making noise behind. So, okay. Well, vertical integration strategies. Let us start from the vertical integration. And vertical integration, we see that there are three kind of policies or three kind of strategies under vertical integration. So these three kind of strategies. Okay, after 10 minutes, the Zoom session will be ended, and I'll be continuing when it's after 10 minutes. We will take a break for namaz because azan is I listen to the azan. So after 10 minutes, if the Zoom session is being ended, you guys go and can offer your praise in 10 minutes. Okay, but after 10 minutes, this Zoom session will automatically would finish. Okay. Vertical integration strategies. First one is forward integration. What forward integration is? Gaining ownership or increased control over the distributors or retailers. Okay, to understand this, just think that any organization, either it is manufacturing organization, or it is service organization, or it is project, it is having three phases. On first phase, you are receiving some resources. You are getting some resources. You are getting labor, you are getting raw material, you are getting technology, you are gathering some resources from mountain areas, from desert areas, from the shipment from the other countries. So one area is this, one phase is this, where you collect resources. So obviously those resources are not come to you in single line. There is a complete supply line over there. It means that if I'm having need of some kind of a machinery, so that machinery is being made in UK, and then UK is transferring that machine with some distributor to China, and I am getting that machine from the Chinese distributor. So this all supply line for having resources, it is called backward linkages. Obviously, I am having link with the Chinese distributor, and that Chinese distributor is having a link with the main machine or technology producer. So these kind of linkages, these kind of connections are called backward connections, backward linkage. And here I'm creating a backward integration. If I want to make that Chinese distribution under my hand with some kind of a contract, or I want to get full control of that distributor, which is giving me the resources, which is giving me the technology, which is giving me the labor, which is giving me the raw material. If I want to control that distributor completely, so it means that I want to uh, 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 sorry, I have explaining this one. I want to create integration backward integration. It means that backward integration is such sort of a action where I want to control over the vendors. I want to have control over the distributors who is giving me the resources. So if if I become successful in creating such kind of a contract where I can grab that distributor, where I can get control over the raw material supplier, it means I have integrated backward. Now, when this backward integration is needed, so this is all the points are there. When present supplies are especially expensive, definitely, or unreliable or incapable of meeting, it means that the person who is giving me the resources, who is giving the technology, who is giving me the labor, it is becoming expensive for me. It is becoming unreliable, because unreliable, you can see the meaning of unreliable. And or he become incapable. Obviously, incapability mean that the amount of resources that I'm demanding, my distributor cannot meet my demand. So it means that my vendor is incapable. So if my vendor is incapable, if my vendor is unreliable, if my vendor become expensive, then I want to create this backward integration. What kind of backward integration? Backward integration may be of many types. One is to get complete control over the suppliers, vendors through some contracts. वो कहते हैं patents ले लेते हैं आप. You can get the patents from the suppliers that this kind of technology you would be giving only to us. You would not be giving this kind of technology to any other in the market. So if you do like that, it means that you are creating integration backward. And if they become expensive, you can create your own firm. It is also called a backward integration. If any organization sees that the vendor is becoming expensive, so you make your subsidiary firm of your own, who is extracting the raw material for you, and who is providing the resources from you. So you can see many examples everywhere. You can see your own organization. There are so many things that are on daily basis you purchase being an organization. So just think that why organization is purchasing something. The job of organization is to sell, but the selling phase is not being discussed here. Here the phase is being discussing is the purchase phase. What you are purchasing, and why you are purchasing, and where you are purchasing. Many of you can see their organization, they are purchasing petrol, they are purchasing fuel, they are purchasing heavy electricity, they are purchasing many things, machinery, technology. So what kind of channel you are purchasing, so that is backward linkage. And if organization wants to get control over these suppliers with some contracts, with some patents, or by creating your own subsidiary firm. So it is called backward integration. So if your supplier, if the person from whom you are purchasing the inputs, if he become expensive, you so obviously you need to have some kind of a backward integration. If he's unreliable, you need to have some backward integration, or he is incapable of meeting demand. So it means that you need backward integration. Then when the number of suppliers is small and the number of competitors is large, if you find that the suppliers are very few in market, and the organizations and firms are in a large number, so that become a monopoly kind of a situation for the supplier. Obviously, a single person or some few persons are providing raw material to you, to your competitor, to your more firms. So definitely they become powerful. So to break their power, to break their control, then you need to create backward integration. Either you want to get control over the supplier through some contract, or you can create your own supply firm for yourself. Then when capital and human resources are enough to manage their new business and supplying its own raw material. Obviously, if I am having enough resources, enough money, then I can extract my raw material by myself. I can create my technology by myself. So why do I purchase from other person? Why don't I produce by myself? So that kind of a subsidiary firm or subsidiary section which is being established for the supply of the resources. So it is also backward integration. Then when the advantages of stable prices are practically important. Obviously, suppliers are also giving you the raw material and other technologies at different prices. But if the prices are stable or unstable, in other way, so both stable prices and unstable prices, there you may find some kind of advantage by creating your own supplying firm. So you go for your own decision for having a control over the supply. When present supplier have high profit margin, definitely it can be this point can be linked up with the point number 2, when the number of suppliers is small. So obviously if they're okay, so we were discussing that in what cases, in what situations we can create backward integration. So we were on the point number almost, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When the present supplier have the high profit margin, and I told you that this point can be taken linked with the point number 2. When the number of suppliers is small, so obviously in when the suppliers are small, so they would be making more profits, they will be charging higher prices. But if you want to cope up with the situation, you can create backward integration. Again, backward integration can be of many types. You can create your own contracts for yourself, like just like a patent, just like a agreement with the vendors and suppliers. And as well as you can create your own subsidiary firm as a supplying firm who is not only supplying to your own organization, but as well as to other organizations or firms as well. So, and the last point was the when the organization needs to quickly acquire the needed resource, that this kind of thing uh, can be uh, uh, can be seen in project type of organization. When you are dealing with some sort of a project, and project obviously is time bound activity and time bound entity, and within that time you need to complete all the tasks. So in if you find some kind of resources to be having quickly uh, possessed, so that's why you can create backward integration. Normally, stakeholder analysis or stakeholder management, that area of the project management teaches you that how to create some kind of agreement, such sort of agreements and such sort of arrangements with the suppliers, so you can get your resources timely in your project. The next thing or the next one is forward integration. So now this is another second phase. One phase was that phase where you were getting the resources, where you were getting the technology, raw material from the different sort of vendors and suppliers. But now you have produced your product, and now you want to sell your product. So this is called forward linkages. This requires forward linkages. You can sell your product by your own. You can sell your product by some marketers. You can sell your product by some distributors. So these distributors, marketers, these kind of companies which may have selling your product on their behalf. So these are called forward linkages. And again, if you're not happy with the present distributor, if you're not happy with the present sort of a system of selling your product or service, so then you need to get into forward integration. Again, forward integration can be of many types. You can make some kind of a patent, you can make some kind of agreements, you can make some kind of a controlled agreement with the distributors, so that these distributors would be selling your product on the priority on some kind of exceptional situations or cases. Or you can create your own distribution firm. An organization can create own distribution firm. So that is also called forward integration. So these 6 guidelines indicates when the forward integration may be an especially effective strategy. And number 1 is when present distributors are especially expensive, unreliable, or incapable of meeting the firm's distribution needs. Definitely, if any kind of a distributor, he is not reliable, he is expensive, or he is incapable. Let's talk about the Pepsi. Obviously, Pepsi distribution is the widest distribution channel in the world. So if Pepsi finds that the any kind of a supplier or any kind of a distributor, he is becoming expensive, or he is becoming unreliable, or he is becoming incapable, so then the Pepsi comes forward and do selling of its own product by themselves. So this is what we call a forward integration. Or the distributor of Pepsi, if they are bound and they are being bounded in the agreement that they would only be selling the product of Pepsi, so it means that the Pepsi is creating a sort of a forward integration, because the Pepsi is getting complete control over the distribution. When the availability of the quality distributor is limited, definitely if a present distributor or available distributor is having low quality, he cannot reach the customers, he cannot extend the market extent. So this incapability of the distribution becomes again a problem for the organization, and for organization thinks that it may have some other source for selling its product or service. Then when an industry is expected to continue to grow markedly, an organization's ability diversify if its basic industry falter by the existing distributors. So that thing is to be understood clearly. When an industry is expected to continue to grow markedly, it means that firms is demanding a markedly growth. He wants to get high percentages of growth, and organization has an ability to do that. It means that if any kind of organization, if want to sell its product in a bigger market, and organization can produce that much quantity or that much kind of a product which can serve a bigger market, but the present distributor or existing distributor is not capable, it becomes flatters. So then obviously the firm needs to have some other distributors or need to create its own distribution channel through some sources. And then when human and capital resources are enough to manage new business of distributing its own product, I think it is explained. When any kind of a firm finds appropriate resources, human resources, if he's having a good amount of money, and if he can create its own distribution cheaply, so it would definitely create it. Then when the advantages of stable production are productively particularly high, if you are seeing that your production would be increasing day by day very effectively, then you need some kind of a distribution that it can sell your product accordingly. So if existing distributor is not capable for your persistent or consistent growth, so you need to find another distribution channel, or you create your own distribution. When present distributor or retailers have high profit margins, and price them more competitively by integrating forward. So it is again a problem when your distributor becomes expensive and distributor is becoming having higher profits from you by of selling your product. So you need to create your own distribution channels. So this is what we say a forward integration. Then the third one is horizontal integration. Horizontal integration, I have told you about three phases. One phase where you were getting resources from your vendor. So in that phase, you have created backward integration. Second phase, you are selling your product to your customer. So selling product to customer, in that chain, you have created your own distribution chain that is called forward integration. But while producing commodity or service, now this is the third phase, while producing commodity or service, while being in production, you are obviously not free to produce, or you're not free to act. You're bound with your competitors. So then if you want to seek ownership or increase control over competitors, your such like companies like you, if you want to get control over your competitors, so that become horizontal integration. And for horizontal integration, you may have heard about some terms like acquisition or mergers or joint ventures. So these kind of mergers, joint ventures, and acquisitions, these are called a horizontal integration. Five guidelines are there. Five guidelines are there which tells us that why these horizontal integration is needed and when it is needed. When an organization can gain monopolistic characteristics, obviously, if someone wants to get monopolistic power in the market, so they want to acquire smaller firms, they want to make great ventures with the other competitors, or they want to have bigger joint ventures. So that is actually effective strategy for having control over the competitors. So you want to create a monopolistic characteristic. If you see that cellular phone companies, Ufone, Jazz, and Telenor, they have made horizontal integration, though they are competitors, but they have made a cartel. If you have know the term about carteling or cartelization, when bigger companies or bigger firms join together, though they are competing each other, but for the customers, but for the market, they do act collective. They price, they charge price collectively. They make policies collectively for the customers. So though the Telenor, Mobilink, and Ufone are different firms, they are competing firms. But for customers, they are making their policies together, they are making the price charges together. So they are actually making some horizontal integration because they want to get monopoly power over the customer. When an organization compete in a growing industry, and obviously if industry is growing, so you want to get more and more stakes into your firm by joint ventures, by acquisition, by what we can say. Sir, horizontal integration means partnership. Yes, it can become a partnership. It can become a partnership. Uh, uh, mm, अच्छा स्लाइड को इस दोबारा से here we are discussing the horizontal integration. I have told you about the backward integration where the firm was creating linkages, firm was creating control over the supply onto the suppliers of the resources. And then other was the forward integration. Forward integration when the organization is making control over the distribution. And now here we are with the horizontal integration when a firm or organization is making some partnerships, some ventures, some kind of acquisitions, or so many things. What you have said that the partnership. So please explain all three phases with these separate examples. Let's say if you take an example of the Masjid Nabawi expansion. So this is a very big project. For example, if you have taken any kind of example of a bigger project, so expansion of the Masjid Nabawi is a very big project. So when Masjid Nabawi was expanding, so there was a need of some special cooling tiles to fix on the floor. But the Saudi Arab, in entire Saudi Arab, that cooling tiles was not having in the mountains. So for that, those cooling tiles were in the mountain of the Egypt, and I'm forgetting another name of the country. So of getting extraction from the mountain of the Egypt of that marble and taking that marble to the Saudi Arab. So there was no company at all. Then the project manager have decided to extract that marble by himself. So it created a company of extraction company who has created the marble from the Egypt, and then the transportation, that is another channel of supplying material. The transportation, they have created their own transportation channels. So that's how they have imported those cooling tiles from the Egypt. They have extracted by themselves. They have transported by themselves. So that was basically backward integration. And so many kind of examples you can take place for this special meaning. And the forward integration, I have told you about the Pepsi example, or any kind of a beverage. You can see that Pepsi is selling its product all over the world. Can you see the Pepsi head office in Pakistan? No. Can you see any kind of a Pepsi employee, direct employee in Pakistan? No. But Pepsi is distributing its product all over the Pakistan through some distribution channels. And some of them distribution channels are only working for the Pepsi. They cannot distribute any other product than Pepsi. It means that Pepsi have created some kind of a joint venture, not a joint venture, sorry, some kind of a subcontraction with a other firm that you would be selling only my product. You would not be selling other products, other brand. So that's how the Pepsi has created forward integration with that subsidiary firm. And when we are talking about the third phase, that is the phase of the horizontal integration, where any organization is making ventures, making collaboration with the existing competitors. So I have given you the example of mobile phone services in Pakistan. Telenor, Mobilink, Ufone, and Zong, so many other name you can name it. So they have joined together for policy making. They have made the cartels. Cartel mean that they are acting as a competitor, but they are creating policies in collective for the customers. So they charge high prices with the to the customer. They make some sort of a similar policies for the all Pakistan. So why any kind of a special firm of mobile phones is not making very different kind of a policy than other? You can see that all the policies, all the packages they have been made in some sort of a single brackets. Why there is a single bracket for the all firms? Because they have joined together for making policies, for pricing. If there was a free competition, if there were a free competition, then obviously the remaining prices, the existing pricing you see for your packages, that would not be that much high, because any firm, if that firm is acting freely, if any firm that is acting or practicing sorry free to market, so it can beat you by providing you the lower price. So why in this kind of market or mobile phone company market, any firm is not giving you the cheap and least price with the competitors? Because they have joined together to make policies and to make pricing policies for you. So actually, horizontal integration companies are cheating with the, obviously, why they, why they have joined together for cheat. I would say not a cheat, but because this is basic job of organization. Because he has to sell his products at a high price. This is a common behavior of the cartels. So we cannot say the cheating, but they are making control over the customers. So this was and the last one is when competitors are flattering due to a lack of managerial expertise. Obviously, if you see that your organization is having good resources and good managers, but the competitor firm is having not good managers and skillful workers, so you take over the other firm or you hire other firm. So these kind of managerial expertise also obviously make a reason for a horizontal integration. You can, in that example, you can see that one person is working for many firms, because that one person would be having that kind of a skill which is not easily available into the market. So that alone person is having skills, and two or three or four different firms are making that person as hired. So nobody can think that a one person can do the job for more than one companies at the same time. But at some time, in some special cases, that manager or that person is having such kind of expertise or skills that at the same time, many firms are have hired that particular person. So it also makes some kind of a horizontal integration. So I think that's enough for today. I have explained vertical integration strategies here, and the rest three groups I will be explaining in the next coming class. So for today's lecture, I think this is enough. So this is your first part of fifth chapter. Thank you very much. I'm sorry that in the start you have found some interruptions. But that was some technical mistakes over there, technical errors. But inshallah, from the next one, inshallah, we'll be getting good results. Thank you very much, Sunaisu. You will find this recording or by tonight or by tomorrow, inshallah, because it takes time in uploading. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. क्या हो गया भाई, क्यों बंद नहीं हो रहा? ओहो, हैंग हो गया है।
So هذا يقول لك كويس ما ذاك